Welcome to the Skin Philosophy Edit with your host, myself, Anna Louise Kenny. I'm here to bring to you the knowledge and skills to level up your business. We are speaking to industry experts across the industry to make sure that you're getting your knowledge in skincare, equipment, ingredients, and everything else you need to make sure you have the best of your business. Hi, and welcome back to the Skin Philosophy Edit with myself, Anna Louise, and today we have Lorna Bowes with us. Now, Lorna is the founder of Aesthetic Source. She's done nursing in 1980s, 1990s, went into aesthetics, and then set up Aesthetic Source, which is a distribution for a few different aesthetic skincare brands and devices. So we're delighted to have you on to explain everything because you're a fountain of knowledge. I know this from a good few years of seeing your talk. So thank you so much for coming in. It's great to have your experience here.
Well, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
No problem. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. So you decided to get into aesthetics in the 90s. Why?
It's a great question. I'd been in the NHS working in dermatology and realised that there was a gap in learning between being a nurse and being a manager. And I was being pushed into management. So I went off to find myself some management experience and training.
Okay.
And to do an MBA was my ultimate goal. And on that journey, I read an article about collagen injectables. And having come from dermatology and having a passion for good skin health, I could see that there was an opportunity here to do something different. So I moved into aesthetics.
Okay. And fillers in the 90s, like that was early.
Oh, it was very early. Yes, we had collagen injections and that was it. There was a period of time where we had an animal-based hyaluronic acid before the Nasha technology sort of hit the market, and I started working with Restylane back in the late 90s. So I think 1996 was the first time I went over to Sweden to talk to the Restylane company about doing some training for them. Okay. At which point I was just setting up my first company, which was the Bowes Clinics. So at the Bowes Clinics, we had a chain of clinics all over the United Kingdom, and we did skincare, peels, sclerotherapy, and collagen injections because that's all there was. Wow. Then we gradually moved into hyaluronic acid as that came in. And then towards the end of the business, before I sold it, we started to do botulinum toxin injections. But they didn't exist when we set up the business.
Really?
Didn't exist. No hyaluronic acid injectables, none of the longer term biostimulation products, and absolutely no neurotoxins.
Wow. So you were really there at the start when everything started to change.
There were one or two people around before me, but not many.
You're being nice now. I would be like, yes, definitely me. So then you sold the clinics?
Yes, sold out in 2004. Two reasons for that. Firstly, I was a single mum and running a business of that size and putting my children first wasn't compatible. So I decided to take an opportunity to go and work for QMed, who were the founders of Restylane. They sold out, and it's now Galderma, obviously, who have the brand. But I worked with them for a long, long time. The other reason for doing it was I'm a nurse, and I hold my nurse reputation very, very highly. And we were using what was then sort of remote prescribing for the nurses in the team. We had a plastic surgeon, and I felt that was not really the way we should be doing things. And at that point, nurses couldn't do the V300 nurse prescribing qualification. It didn't exist. So I cut it 9 years before the law started to say, actually, you can't, sort of standard practice. But being a cautious type when it comes to things like regulatory, I will not do something that is not regulatorily correct. And it felt like a bit of a risk.
Yeah.
So I didn't take it. Take a commercial risk, yes, but a regulatory one, no.
No, that we'll discuss as well about all of that.
Yes.
And so then how did Aesthetic Source come about? Like, what made you think?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I was thoroughly enjoying working in injectables. QMed had a group called the Restylane Group Expert, which was an international training group.
Yeah.
And as part of that, I was doing a lot of work in France and Italy, where the distributors of Restylane were distributors, not subsidiaries of the parent company, and as such they could carry whatever brands they wanted, and they carried Neostrata alongside Restylane.
Okay.
So I was teaching dermatologists to do advanced filler techniques, and they were saying to me, why are you not using Neostrata?
Yeah.
And I got to know it better and better, and then I got to know some of the doctors behind it. So Dr. Beth Bryden, who did a lot of the early research alongside the owners, Dr. Van Scott and Dr. Yu.
Yeah.
So I started to see the fact that this was a brand that was different to anything else that I was using.
Yeah.
Got more and more passionate about it, started training it in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
And then I saw an opportunity because my experience had been building clinics.
Yeah.
And I know what a clinic needs to be successful.
Yeah.
And passive income is a critical part of that success story,
Yeah.
as is happy patients who are prepared to tell their friends.
Yeah.
Now, most patients, it's changed now, I agree, but at that point, most patients, this is 15 years ago, patients would not go around telling their friends, oh, I go to nurse so-and-so, doctor so-and-so to have this injectable or that treatment.
Yeah.
But they will share their skincare stories. So I thought, okay, I understand the business model. I understand how to find the best brands in the world. Why not set up a company that's predicated upon a clinic being able to come to me and say, what skincare do I use? And then they can cherry pick from Aesthetic Source whichever products they think fit their portfolio best. So they can have one brand or they can have one product from 10 brands. Doesn't matter which way they want to do it, but we'll help the clinic to set that up. And that's where we started back in 2011.
Yeah. So that's where we come on to the portfolio.
Yeah.
So there is a wide range. Obviously, the one that's huge at the moment across the socials is Skin Better Science, obviously for good reason. But you've a wide range. So talk me through each of the product brands.
So each of the brands that we take on has to have a really specific reason to be in a portfolio. And every single brand has to be clinically proven. We need that scientific base. So if somebody comes to me and they demonstrate a brand, and I get several every week that say that it's got papers, and you look at the papers and actually it's an old paper from an ingredient that's number 20 on the list of what's in the product, then I won't look at it. If it's a brand that's got novel technology or novel formulation ideas or an utterly unique space in the market, then I'll take it seriously and I'll look closely. So I'm looking for things. So, for example, one of the things that caught my eye with Skin Better Science is that it's not available online.
Yeah.
That it's a
great.
protected market, which is fabulous if that's your business model.
Yeah.
But we have clinics who come to us and say, well, we don't want that. We want to be able to sell online, in which case we've got things like Neostrata, Revision Skincare, which is growing at a ridiculous rate. It's a phenomenal range. Then we have other products which are in the portfolio because they do something specific. So Sente, for example, I originally was talking to them. They're an American company and they have a novel ingredient called heparin sulfate analog.
Okay.
And that's an ingredient that builds hyaluronic acid in the skin.
Okay.
It also decreases the inflammatory response. So with a lot of people who've got pigmentation, they have an inflammatory response and they can't use the stronger ingredients because of the reactivity of their skin and because it dries their skin. Most of the ingredients dry the skin out. So to be able to reduce inflammation and hydrate the skin is brilliant for people with rosacea and people who are looking at skincare treatments rather than everyday skincare. So for pigmentation and other treatments. But while they were working on that, they also started to look at cysteamine. Now, I don't know whether you've come across cysteamine, but cysteamine for pigment is extraordinary. If you go back to the 1970s when hydroquinone was being researched, in the laboratories, the positive control that was used was an ingredient called cysteamine.
Okay.
The word positive control, the phrase positive control, is simply what is accepted as the gold standard best way of achieving the results that you're testing the other products for.
Okay.
So they're looking to see whether hydroquinone gets rid of pigment in the skin, and they know that cysteamine is the best. But you couldn't make cysteamine into a cream because it smells of
Just
sulfur.
because it smells?
It smells of sulfur.
Oh, yeah, that's a very bad smell.
It's a bit much, so people don't want to put that on their face.
No.
So everybody knew it was good, but just couldn't use it. But about 10 years ago, somebody actually made a little bit of an error in an experiment.
It's always the way the best things come about.
Exactly. Walked into their lab one morning to find it didn't smell when they were expecting it to smell. So they'd obviously done something wrong. So they researched what they'd done to the cysteamine. And therein lies the beginning of a new era in treating pigment, that we can now use cysteamine without the odour.
Oh, wow.
And so Sente is the brand that we're working with because they've got that combination of heparin sulfate analogue and cysteamine. And in terms of results, it's brilliant. It's a home treatment, 15 minutes a day,
Okay.
but you can use cysteamine forever. It's not like hydroquinone that you have to come off it after 16 to 18 weeks. So you've got no risk of rebound pigmentation. So you can get the early stage 14, 16 weeks of intensive treatment daily at home. It's a 15-minute application daily. But once the patient's achieved that, 2 or 3 times a week will give maintenance forever.
Oh, wow.
That is
Nice.
incredible. Really
Yeah.
changing the face of how we can treat pigmentation.
And are you finding it's picking up like people are
Absolutely.
starting to catch on to it?
Absolutely. People are trying it. They're cynical because they've been told that so many, there's so many ingredients out there that will deal with a part of the pigmentation production cycle or will break down existing pigmentation. But there's nothing apart from hydroquinone at this level.
Yeah.
So you've got something which is a cosmetic product that you can put on the skin. So now that people are starting to see they really do get the results, absolutely, it's flying.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Really good.
So that's another reason to have a brand. So all of the brands are there for different reasons.
So we'll do examples so people can understand better. So say, for example, I am just done my level 3. I've done facial electrics. I want to specialise in skin. But I don't want to go into level 4 chemical peels, not too advanced, just something nice to start off with. Which one would you pick? Like an all-rounder, good?
So a little bit depends on your price point as well. So I'm going to talk about 2 different price points. I'll talk about the premium price point, and then I'll talk about the high street price point.
Yeah.
So premium price point, I would go with Sente for pigmentation and rosacea. I would go for Revision Skincare if you're looking for a brand which you can have on your website and you can get sales from your website as well as from in-clinic, because clinically it's a brilliant brand. We'll talk about a couple of ingredients if you'd like, but let's just do commercial first. And then if you want a brand that's protected from being online, then Skin Better Science. So those would be the premium 3, Sente, Revision, and Skin Better Science. If you're looking at more of a high street price point, then if you don't want peels, it's worth looking at Exuviance, which is a beautiful brand. It's been around for a long time, but it's been through some changes and it's now coming into its own. I see Exuviance as it's the spa brand meets the scientific brands.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it smells delightful. It's so alluring to use.
Yeah.
But it's also clinically effective because it comes from the same stable as Neostrata, which would be my second choice. Neostrata, it's not a glamorous range. But gosh, your skin feels glamorous when you use it because it's highly effective ingredients. It's from the doctors who discovered the effects of glycolic acid in the 1970s, so they absolutely know their science. They've just added microdipeptide 229 into the mix, which is the last of the ingredients that we'll ever see from Dr. Van Scott and Dr. Yu. And they changed skincare. They've truly changed skincare. Kligman with vitamin A, Dr. Van Scott and Dr. Yu with polyhydroxy acids, alpha hydroxy acids, and now these new peptides. Extraordinary ingredients. At a price point that is highly competitive.
Yeah.
And then finally, my new kid on the block is a brand called Clinical Skin. Clinical Skin is really interesting. Every single product is based on an ingredient or a technology that they call ACE. And ACE is a collection of 3 different ingredients or 3 different directions of ingredients that is the carrier for all of the other ingredients that they have in it. So they have the full shelf that you would expect. So they've got vitamin A, retinols, they've got vitamin C, they've got vitamin E, they've got hydroxy acids. They've got vitamin A, they've got what you expect. But everything is based on a carrier, which instead of just being a bland carrier, which is what most brands have, is actually an active itself. So if all you used was the carrier, you'd still get really good results because you've got ceramides, you've got vitamin C and vitamin E, and you've got an antioxidant superoxide dismutase, which is really powerful stuff. And it's at a price point that's amazing. And my very, very, and I'm sorry to every other brand I carry, but my very, very favourite cleanser is Clinical Skin's Gentle Cleansing product. It's just so gorgeous, and it even takes off my waterproof mascara.
Really?
Yeah,
nice.
It's beautiful. So it's always my first cleanse.
Yeah.
And they have an eye balm as well.
Wow.
Which never leaves my handbag. Well, it does. It leaves my handbag when I take it out to use it. So that they have, and that alongside the Revision lip product are always in my handbag.
Because I have seen the blend only once being used before of A, C, and E, and it was taken out. And the reason it was taken out was it was too expensive to like use it as a carrier.
Right.
Do you know
Okay.
that? Because
Yes.
it's a skincare line that we all know, and they've revisioned a lot of their formulas to make them not to make them less effective, but better off their budget.
Yep.
And then they become less effective.
Yes.
But I've seen the ACNE and it's lovely
Yes.
as a blend together, as a carrier together.
Yes.
So those are really nice. And Exuviance is really making, I've noticed that in the last year, especially up north.
Yes, it's
lot of
starting
our
to really have a foothold.
Yeah.
And if you want to try just one, well, I'm going to have to say 2 products. Triple microdermabrasion. It's papaya enzyme, so you get a physical peel.
Yeah.
Sorry, a chemical peel. It's medical grade microdermabrasion crystals, so you get your physical peel, and it's hydroxy acid, so you get your chemical peel.
Oh, nice.
All in one, and it smells divine.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. And then they've got a peel called the AP25 peel. It's like having an in-clinic peel, but you do it yourself at home.
Okay.
It's wonderful.
Now, you said something at the start of this conversation about being able to take from a few brands. So, is there a minimum starting point with each of the lines? A package?
So we are very tailored.
Okay.
We're very tailored indeed.
Yeah.
Repeat purchases, we have a minimum order of 1.
Okay.
And we do that because although it's not commercially sensible,
Yeah.
it is commercially sensible because we want to be collaborative. We want to be supportive of our customers.
Yeah.
So we'll help you build. In terms of opening orders, we do prefer a larger opening order so that we can come in and do the training.
Yes. Yeah.
But that's negotiable and variable.
Yeah, and that's brilliant because that's a lot where the students struggle with is, you know, £2,500 or £5,000 to start off as a minimum order can be very heavy on some people.
We want to hold people's hands and help them get into the idea of skincare.
Yeah.
And really work with their patients. And you know, I have a lecture this is actually about a patient rather than about a clinic, but a patient of mine who was with me for 25 years, and she spent £70,000 over that period of time. And when she came in for her first consultation, my attitude is, you're here to buy a car from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, over the next few years, that's what you'll spend. So I'm going to look after you that way. I'd look after somebody that way anyway because I'm just a people person. I just love people. But from a commercial perspective, that was my attitude. And 25 years later, when I handed her on because I hung up my nursing uniform, she'd spent 70,000. And I take that attitude to clinics.
Yeah.
You know, somebody approaches us and wants to start. They're not just buying a bag full of products or a box full of products. They're buying a lifetime's experience with us of developing their business and having personal success, not only commercially, but also learning about skincare, changing people's lives. It's I take it really seriously.
Yeah.
And one of my reasons for setting up the business is if I'm in clinic myself, I can help however many patients a day.
Yeah.
If I'm running this business, I can help other people help. So it's almost unlimited because I've grown my team. You know, we've now got 30 odd people and they're going out and helping others build businesses.
Yeah. And it is really nice to help clinics. It's really nice to like help a business grow.
Yeah.
And having the proper skincare and knowing how to use it and good training
Yes.
is how they grow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So how, as a supplier, how do you ensure that practitioners and clinics are well informed and confident in the products they're using?
That starts at ground roots. It's that I have to make sure I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then I have to make sure that my team are fully trained. So we use all sorts of different training tools and techniques, including the manufacturers doing the trainings themselves for our team and also the manufacturers doing the training for the clinics. So that's the first thing. It's training first, education. People have to know what they're doing. And then just supporting people in business. The reason that our salespeople are called business development managers are because they are all skilled at developing other people's businesses, and they will come in and work alongside to make sure that you've chosen the right brands for your clinic price point, that you've got the right knowledge, that your front of house, your doctor, whoever it is who's seeing the patient, every single touch point matches your own brand ethos and makes sure that you have all the knowledge required.
100%. It's funny because I've opened the clinic out in India And so we're taking a lot of the brands that I've worked with already here and stuff like that. So then we have the trainers coming in to train us on these brands. Now, these brands I know for years and I know how to use them. And the training is terrible. Like, we had someone in, and I got my friend to be a model out there, and the client frosted because they had they were doing a peel, and it was like rubbing over the same area multiple times with acid blend, and it on a patient that had sensitive skin, that we warned of sensitive skin, and the trainer was like, oh no, they're okay, and I was like, no, take it off now. I'm telling you, take it off now. And so she took it off, and then I said to her, listen, when you're doing a peel, you have to make sure you're just doing one swipe and all over the face, and leave it a few minutes. If it's a layering, because she was like, no, this one you can layer. I said, yes, but one layer and then wait. They don't mean like layer multiple times at the same time.
Yeah.
And that was a trainer for a company. And I only know because I know.
Yes.
Imagine what they're teaching to other clinics.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you don't get good training you'll do really bad treatments.
Yes, and then you won't get repeat business, and the whole thing becomes a vicious circle of failure.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't want to say the word, but it is. It doesn't work. Yeah,
no,
you need to be fully trained.
Yeah,
and you need to understand. One of the things I'm really keen is that people understand the downsides and the challenges. So we're not just selling. We're truly teaching. This is how to use the products and how not to use the products.
Yeah.
It's critical.
Yeah. And the inside outs of ingredients and exactly how they work, instead of just going, oh, it's an AHA or,
Exactly. And why that particular AHA and what pH it's formulated at, and what size the molecular structure is. You know, if you've got something with a high Dalton weight, then it's not going to penetrate the skin. It's going to sit on the surface, which is fine if that's what you want it to do. But if you're then also making claims that it affects fibroblast activity, how?
By just irritating enough.
Yes.
It's like,
no.
Yeah.
There are better ways of doing this.
Yeah, exactly. That's how, because sometimes, like glycolic obviously is a good acid, but it can be so badly made.
Yes.
And it's like having an understanding of that. And and that's where I think it starts from, is people's learning at the base core. And we didn't have that. That was the problem. There was no base core of training of how
which is so important.
Yeah.
It's don't just do the brand training. Yeah. Make sure that you really understand.
Yeah, exactly. An acid, or exactly how it works, because a brand is good. Training with a brand is very important, but they will only teach you their products and how they work.
Yes.
It's not their responsibility to teach you everything about acids. Like, some great ones will, but it's not responsibility.
And it's one of the reasons that we think that having a really good collection of brands is better than just having one, because we get to hear the science from all of the other brands. And I go around and go to all the big scientific conferences anyway, so I know what's coming.
Yeah.
And there are some brands that we have in our portfolio because I've been and I've seen an ingredient in early stage development and thought, oh, I need to follow this one. And I followed it up until it came to market.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then you're offering the best
exactly. And
options.
You've pride in what you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we were chatting earlier about something else that's come out that I think is amazing. I think it's very important for a clinic to have, but it's very hard to get a decent one. Aura. Yes, aura. Yeah. So I have a spiritual side, and I just love the fact that I have a brand called Aura. Even my favourite perfume is called Aura. But anyway, let's not digress. I have spent many, many hours, probably months worth of time, looking at before and after photography, both when I was in clinic and from my perspective of making sure that I understand the clinical evidence behind brands, because I've seen some shocking before and afters. Yeah.
And there are some brands which are the bog standard. They are the gold standard, in aesthetics. But things are changing. So the world of AI has come to greet us.
Yes.
And there is a company called Hexagon. They're a multi-billion-pound global company, and they are the leaders in metrology and AI.
Okay.
So what that means is they understand how to build an AI image of anything. And one of the most complex, if not the most complex thing you can build an image of is the human face.
Yeah.
They own a company called Leica who make the Leica cameras that are some of the very best cameras in the world. And they saw an opportunity to support aesthetic practitioners and beauty therapists in doing before and after photography.
Okay.
So Aura, very simply, is a screen that's a little bit bigger than a computer screen that you line your patient up with. It's almost like landing an aeroplane. You're sitting in front of a selection of lights that tell you whether your face is in exactly the right place. And then when you click to take the photograph, you're not taking one photograph. You have 13 Leica cameras taking a simultaneous image from every angle of the face, neck and décolleté, backlit by 9 LEDs. So it doesn't matter where you take the photograph, it doesn't matter whether it's dark, light, whatever, the image will be exactly the same lighting. So your before and afters are going to be perfect.
Which by itself, without diagnostics, is hard enough to get.
Yes.
And hard enough to quantify. Like I only did it the other day, removing pigmentation. I was like, that doesn't even do it justice. You can't even see the results as good. And because of socials, it's so important to have decent before and after.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this allows you to take your after photograph, and then on your computer screen you can sit side by side. You can sit the two images side by side. It will measure the differences between them: pigmentation, redness, pore count, wrinkle count. And then when you start doing injectables and surgical procedures, you can start looking at vectors, you can start changing the angles of the face, you can do all sorts of clever things. Really, I mean, it's a really sophisticated piece of kit.
Yeah.
You can also do videos, so you can get your patient to blow a 4-second kiss, you can get them to frown, you can get them to smile. And then again, if you're doing a treatment which involves any stimulation or relaxation, you can then overlay and show them the differences. And if you're doing threads or something like that, it can show you how it's moved the vectors around, and projection if you've done a lip enhancement or whatever. So it's a very, very sophisticated piece of kit.
Nice, very nice.
And it does it almost instantaneously. On a Mac, it's going to take about 30 seconds from taking one photograph to having a fully rendered face, neck and décolleté. And what is really interesting is if you imagine that you've got a mouse and you're looking at the face on your computer screen, you can rotate it 360 degrees in every plane.
Yeah. And that fully rendered, because people won't understand fully rendered, but fully rendered, to do that within that short period of time, it has to be severely, like, rendering can take hours.
It's an incredibly powerful piece of kit, and it gives you a full digital twin. So it's quite uncanny when you take a photograph of yourself, because you find yourself looking at yourself. One of the things I used to say one of the things I used to say when I was doing treatments is that if you take a photograph of a patient and watch their behaviour versus giving them a mirror, if you give a patient a mirror, they'll be going, oh, look at this tiny line here.
Yeah.
If you give a patient a photograph of themselves, there's an emotional separation and they're much more critical. And they'll really have a good consultation with you because they'll talk about the difference. Now you've got a full 3D digital image of your patient, and they really are starting to talk about exactly what's going on. And I've watched so many consultations over the last few weeks with doctors who are now getting familiar with using it, and it's changing the consultation. It's making it so much more meaningful for the patient.
And also backs up what you're saying to them. So if I say to a client, you're suffering, this is how it's happening, there's a percentage of them that go, is she trying to sell me a treatment or product? Whereas a computer analysis is like, this is actually factually correct.
Yes.
It's not me trying to say or
and it's all standardised.
Exactly.
It's all done on standardisation, and we've got all the evidence behind the standardisation that's been used. It's very cleverly thought out, and it's also portable. It comes in a suitcase, which is a carry-on size.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you don't need a special room. You can just have it on your desk. Yeah, absolutely.
No, because it is, within the clinic in London, I used to find that it was so much easier to get a client to commit to a treatment plan when you can analyse them.
Absolutely.
And we had an analyzer at the time, which got stolen in a robbery, and I never got the same kind of one again. But it made such a difference for sitting down with a client and going through with them to go, okay, instead of you're just coming in for one treatment, you're coming in for a plan to treat this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm just really excited about having it in our portfolio as well, because I always look for what's new and what's brilliant. And to be able to have this, which is so very special, is amazing. But it's not my only brand new and very special thing.
Go on.
So I'm very quickly. Revision Skincare.
Okay, yeah.
What an amazing brand. Their science is phenomenal. And they've been working for some time on neurocosmetics.
Okay.
And we have a new product called CMT, which is a neurocosmetic. Okay. And this is for anybody who's listening who does any treatments that leave the skin red and inflamed and the patient has discomfort post-procedure.
Yeah.
So we've worked with pretty much all of the big names out there with any energy-based devices.
Yeah.
And what CMT stands for C for chemical, M for mechanical, and T for thermal.
Okay.
It is a beautiful cocktail of peptides and prebiotics that you put on the skin that confuses the message from the skin to the brain that they've got discomfort.
Okay.
So it reduces the redness and inflammation.
Yeah.
So there are one or two procedures for which you want the redness and inflammation, so you wouldn't necessarily use it. But all of the others where that isn't, it's a byproduct and you want to avoid it.
Yeah.
You want the deeper damage that's going on in the tissues.
Yeah.
You put it on immediately post-treatment and you get an immediate relief of the heat, the redness and the discomfort. It's an extraordinary difference. It's hugely extraordinary.
Yeah.
And it's £68 per tube for the patient.
Wow.
So it's an absolute game changer. So you know the number of times patients come in and they book for a procedure.
Yeah.
They have the first of 3 or 6 sessions and they don't come back because it hurt. Now you can get around that.
Yeah, because I have, say, one of the girls that works with me, she will just go red anyways.
Yeah.
Like just red. She's not sensitive. It's not a reaction of the treatment. She'll just go red.
This would really help.
Exactly. And then you have the people that I remember, because the clinic was in Barnes, a lot of people, even it wasn't 15 years ago, but still people didn't want to tell anyone that they had treatments.
Yeah.
And they hated, even if their lines were less from skin needling or something like that, they hated the redness. They hated.
And now that's a thing of the past.
Yeah.
The discomfort and the redness are a thing of the past.
Yeah.
And £68 is the patient price.
Exactly.
The client price.
Yeah.
So it's just to add it into any procedure. I know some clinics are now using it and they don't charge the patient for it. It's just part of the process.
Yeah.
Because they know full well that the patient will be more compliant for future sessions.
Yeah.
They'll get better results and that looks good on the clinic.
Yeah. God, you've a lot of stuff going on.
We have. Oh, and there's more, but not for today. Skin health versus skin fitness.
Okay, good.
This is my take on how to engage your patient or your client in a greater consultation.
Okay.
If somebody comes in and talks about health or they are unhealthy, your immediate response is to go to somebody else for help. You'll go to the doctor because you're not healthy. You'll go to the physiotherapist, whatever it is. If you're talking about fitness, different trigger.
True.
It's, I need to go to the gym. I need to eat better. I need to drink less wine. It's, I need to do something to me. Health is somebody else does it for me. Fitness is I do it for myself. And skin fitness is about looking after your own skin. So it's about, what are you going to do when you wake up in the morning? How are you going to look after your skin? Have you washed your sheets and your pillowcases? Are you leaving conditioner on your face? Have you cleansed properly from the night before? All of those things, it's doing it yourself. And I think it's really powerful in conversation with people.
I really like that. I do, because I understand the psychology behind it, of why people would think, okay, the fitness is down to me. Yeah. Health isn't something I can, because my health might get bad without me realising I'm causing it. Yeah. Or it's, like you said, a profession needs to look after it.
You go into salon, spa, clinic to have your skin health dealt with.
Yeah.
But between that, you need your skin fitness dealt with, which is the home care.
So that's a nice way of phrasing it in between. Yeah.
It's a nicer phrase than skin hygienist, which I played with for a while, because you go to a dentist and then you go to the hygienist, and it's the same principle.
But hygienist triggers trauma.
No, skin fitness is
okay, so with Aesthetic Source, you have won a lot of awards.
Yes.
So how do you think, like, you've done that? What, obviously the research, but how do you get recognised? How do you transfer that across, that people are going, okay, this is one of the best distributors?
I think you take everything that I've said so far about having to having the knowledge and the experience to go and find the best ingredients, to get through the marketing stories
Yes.
and understand what's actually going to happen so people can trust the brands. Then it's about making sure that the message is consistent, that people know when they come to Aesthetic Source that it's not just Lorna, it's our team of trainers, it's our team of customer care operatives, experts, it's our team of business development managers around the UK and Ireland who are there to help people in clinic. So we're very consistent with our messaging. We have a phenomenal bank of key opinion leaders that we work with who write clinical papers, who write review articles, who support from a business perspective. So people like Dr. Sandeep Cliff, consultant dermatologist I've known for, I'm going to say forever, decades, who's a brilliant speaker, Dr. Stephanie Williams, who still works with us, Dr. Sophie Schotter. We have a bank of people who we can turn to when we need advice, and we do.
Yeah.
And I think you put all of that together. And it's wonderful when we get feedback from clinics. We have so many clinics who started off with very unsteady on their feet. They've done their filler training, their toxin training, or their therapy training, or whatever it is, and they come into the market, and on day one they open their clinic, and what do they do now? And they come to us and we work with them. And I have some very, very close friends who have successful businesses because we've worked together, or they've worked with my team. And I love it when it's people I've worked with, but when it's people my team have worked with, that's somehow, it's like one's child doing something successful. I feel so good about it.
Good, that's good. Yeah.
And I think that's why we win awards, because fundamentally, I really care.
But see, I think it comes down to that. Your pride of making sure it's good.
Yeah.
Making, it sounds obvious, but you know this industry, and not all suppliers are selling for the great of this is the best thing I know.
Yeah.
It is for profit, or it is for
Yes.
money.
Yes.
And I do think when you really are passionate, you really believe, and you really want the best for other people, it comes across.
Yes, and it fits through the whole of our team as well. I mean, my team, we're a strong team. We've been together for a long time, and I was ill 6 years ago now, and my general manager changed the password on my Microsoft so I couldn't get into my emails or my calendar. She did it intentionally because she knew if she didn't do that, I wouldn't rest and recover.
I would have a fit. I know it'd be for the best intentions.
It was brilliant because I got better. There were all sorts of. It's quite a big story, but that trust within the team that she knew that I would understand.
Yeah, yeah.
That the company was safe in her hands.
Yeah, and she obviously believed it and knew it would be okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she knew you wouldn't have a fit. She'd be like,
exactly.
I'll deal with her when she's better.
Yes, quite ask for forgiveness, not permission.
But it is the team thing is it's very hard to get, but so important to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the people behind you always. So you've mentioned the importance of supporting your customers through various stages of their careers. What specific support systems or programs do you offer to help them thrive? So
yeah, so I mean, I think a little bit of that's answered in the training.
Yeah.
So we have trainings at all sorts of different levels. So whether it's peel trainings, product specific trainings, ingredient specific trainings. For example, just before COVID, and we're planning something for next year, but we'll come back to that on another podcast perhaps. We did Pigmentation Uncovered.
Okay.
And we took over the main conference area at the Royal College of General Practitioners, and we brought in a bank of people who could speak knowledgeably about the formation of pigmentation and the treatment of pigmentary disorders.
Yeah.
And it was just brilliant. It was pan-brand. We invited other people to come, people who've got energy-based devices that could work for pigmentation, and we provided a level of education that I don't think you get elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because it was a day dedicated just to just to pigmentation.
Yeah, which is amazing.
So that's the sort of support. And our local business development managers, they have local groups to help bring people together so they can support each other. Just generally supporting the practitioners who are out there. And then from my perspective as well, I work very closely with BAMAN, what was the BACN, British Association of Cosmetic Nurses, that I was one of the 4 founders of. It's now renamed BAMAN, but I also work very closely with BCAM, helping them. I've spoken on their conferences. So I'm a great believer that we should be working much more closely as multidisciplinary teams from every member of the team, whether it's front of house, whether it's the doctor, the plastic surgeon, the therapist. We all have our skill sets that are unique and needed within that team setting.
Yeah, and speaking of skill set, the big topic at the moment, regulation.
Yes.
We're hoping it'll come through.
Yes.
What's your opinion, or what do you think?
So I sit in a very unique position as a nurse.
Yeah.
And I say unique because I understand what it's like to be frustrated that doctors do things that I don't do.
Yeah.
But I also believe that that is correct because my skill set is very specific to the qualification that I took. And yes, I have a nurse prescribing qualification as well. I have retired from nursing and prescribing. But my happiest times are when I'm working with a multidisciplinary team and I stick in my swim lane and those around me stick in their swim lane.
Yeah.
And then we are regulatorily correct, and we're also best for the patient or client, whichever word you want to use for that, depending on who you are. But the patient is going to get the very, very best service because doctors have certain skill sets, nurses have certain skill sets, therapists have certain skill sets. There's a huge crossover, a massive crossover in knowledge and understanding. But we can't all be experts.
No, and we can't all do everything.
No.
And it's not as if... The thing that kills me is the wanting to go into injectables. Is it because you want to go into injectables, or do you think it's a good money maker? Because 90% of people that are doing it from a non-medic side, it isn't for the results that they're going for.
That's a really difficult one to agree with because I know people who have come at it because they think they can do better for their client if they move into a more medicalised arena. And I'm going to be controversial here. I think it's absolutely brilliant when a beauty therapist says, I want to do injectables. Absolutely brilliant. Go and do the training. Go and become a nurse. Go and become a doctor. Make sure that you understand how you can deal with the complications.
Build up the qualifications.
Absolutely. Yeah. How you can sit in front of a patient and assess whether they're actually safe to have the procedure.
Yeah.
What else have they got going on?
Yeah.
And that is a skill set that you're not going to learn unless you go and do the core training.
Yeah.
And brilliant. Please come along and do the core training because it's a phenomenal journey to go on. And just imagine what it would be like if we had, and there are a couple around in the world, a beauty therapist who's a dermatologist.
Yeah.
That's power.
Yeah.
That's real skill.
Yeah.
Because they've got the different skill sets of both there.
Yeah. That's my biggest thing is build the qualifications up, build your knowledge up, get to that level that is at that level to do it.
Yeah.
But don't skip out and try and do it the quick pathway because that's where you will get trouble.
Yes.
And it is all about what you don't know or you don't think you need to know, but then when it crops up, then you realise, okay, I messed up now.
Yes.
And I think it's very wrong to say a beauty therapist can't be anything. If you want to, I have enough intelligence to go do medics if I wanted to. Yeah. I have enough. I know myself. If I went back and studied and went and if I thought I wanted to do it right now, like dermatology, I could, but I don't want to. And I don't agree with saying, oh, you can't do anything to people. But I do think there has to be qualifications. There has to be, it has to be a qualified thing. You have to be.
Patient safety, client safety has to come first. Yeah. We've had some horrible stories recently and there will be more, I'm sure. Yeah. And I find it absolutely tragic. Parents' medicine's very, very important.
Yeah.
But it has to be done safely.
Yeah. It's funny because out in India, nurses cannot do injectables. Doctors are frowned upon for doing injectables. Mm-hmm. The only people who can do injectables, technically, is dermatologists or surgeons.
Yes.
That's it.
Yep.
Nobody else. So then the doctors will do the like laser, peels, needling, and then the therapists will maybe do them by guidance, you know, doing the laser peels and needling by under guidance. But it's a lot more
Rigid.
sectored. Yeah. And you wouldn't you wouldn't think that going in that it's going to be that rigid.
Yes.
But it is. I don't agree with it being that rigid. I think, you know, dermatologist, you know, it doesn't mean that you're going to be better an injector than a doctor is. Dermatology is about skin, and injecting is it's a lot about, you know, how you look at a person, how you learn how muscles, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not really into that, but I'm definitely into, you should have some sort of level 7 that's medic that
Yes,
for injectable.
and that's a full qualification, not just a course taught at level 7 level.
I know. See, there is
There's a lot of playing with the language around this.
Yeah. So a levels, what people try and do, this is what people don't recognize, is just because it says level 5, level 7 in front of a qualification doesn't mean, in front of a course name,
It doesn't mean it's a qualification.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's what you have to look into is qualification number.
But there are more and more good qualifications coming forwards.
Yeah.
And you know, I know of several that are going to be being launched as well. There's so much out there that it's a brilliant time to be in appearance medicine, aesthetic medicine, and beauty therapy. I mean, you know, I think the opportunities available to students is going to just explode over the next 5 years. It is very, very exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it at the moment, and there's so much coming into the market, and the market's constantly changing.
Yeah.
You know, people say about there's so much competition out there, but and you'll know this, there's never been as many clients looking for treatments.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's just completely different.
Everybody
worlds,
wants to look their very best.
Yeah.
And we can help them with that.
Yeah.
And we can help teach people that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to someone who's opening up a clinic or say skin business? They're starting out, they're looking around. What would you say would be important?
Spend time working on your own personal brand.
True. Yeah.
And what training you have will be guided by what your personal brand is. And your personal brand will also be informed by where you are geographically, whether that's geographically within the country or geographically, are you in a high-end premises? What sort of clients are you looking to attract? And making sure that you truly understand what your marketing message is going to be.
Yeah.
So that would be the first thing. The second thing is go out and just learn. Yeah. Never stop learning. Yeah. Just keep doing the courses, keep experiencing things, because that's really important. And where possible, take one of your close clients to the trainings with you to get them to experience the treatment and to guide you. That I found one of the most invaluable things.
Really good.
Because then you can watch their skin change.
Yeah.
You know, if you've done a treatment and your patient or client is walking in and out of the door on a daily basis or a weekly basis through the treatment period, then you really learn so much more about what that journey is going to be like, and then you'll be able to communicate better with your clients.
Yeah.
And they will come back more frequently. So that's, I think, the biggest single piece of advice once you're set up, is understand the value of each client walking through the door. Because trying to get that client to come in the first time is going to cost you hugely much more than getting them to come back frequently. Yeah. And if they're coming back frequently, it's because you're doing a good job, and the chances are they're telling other people, and then you don't need to advertise. Yeah. Yeah. I think we forget the value of a client. Yeah. We're so busy rushing around, looking at results, and we forget to just think about the client. Absolutely. And build your passive income, and that's skincare. Yeah. Because you can be selling skincare, whether it's through your own website, whether it's through something like Get Harley that you mentioned, your skincare revenue can be equal to your clinic revenue if you play your cards right and you build it properly. I love Get Harley. I do think it's a great tool. I don't. Do you not? No, I don't. I'll tell you why I don't like Get Harley, because it wasn't my idea. That's the only reason. Apart from that, no, it's an absolutely brilliant system.
Yeah.
If I was still in practice, I would be using Get Harley.
Yeah.
I hold no concerns commercially about saying that.
Yeah.
I was in clinic, I'd do a busy day in clinic, and I'd get home in the end of the evening, and I'd have to sort out my notes, and I'd have to feed my children, and I'd have to take my makeup off, and I'd have to pack my bag for the next day. And then I'd wake up a week later and think, oh gosh, I didn't send Mrs. So-and-so those skincare products, and then she was unhappy and she didn't come back for another filler treatment.
Yeah.
It's really fundamental.
Yeah.
If somebody can do that for you and do it well, and not just remember to send it the first time the patient orders it, but to make sure every 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 weeks, whatever the cycle for the product is, that patient's being reminded, that client's being reminded, come buy more.
Yeah.
How good is that?
Without you even having to think about it, getting it posted out. It's not, it's...
The right product arrives with the right patient at the right time and you just get the revenue.
Yeah.
Why do people wonder whether it's a good idea or not? There are clinics that have their own services, and that's fine, and I get that. But if you're a single-handed practice or a small practice, genius.
Yeah, and holding stock is expensive.
Yes.
It's great to have the availability, like I was saying to you about referring the Skin Better Science. I don't hold stock.
Yeah.
And I can still send out any products I need,
absolutely,
even without holding it.
Absolutely.
So there is something where if you want to ask me a question, I hate this part.
No, not at all. So you've known me for a long time and you know a little bit about aesthetic source. What else could we be doing?
As in treatments? Well, there's...
What do we not do for our customers that you would like us to do?
Services or actual treatments?
Either.
Okay, skin needling still doesn't have enough options out there.
Okay, so we've just launched Rejuvapen.
You've gotten...
We've got Rejuvapen.
Really? Mm-hmm. Because Rejuvapen has been in Ireland for years.
It's a phenomenal FDA-approved pen.
Yeah.
Yes, we wanted the best.
Yeah, because I've had really good reports because it's been in Ireland, I'd say about 3 years. I think 2-3 years. And it's been really, really...
Well, we inherited it a few weeks ago.
Okay.
So it's just joined our portfolio.
Nice.
So we're all getting trained up on it.
Because that's what a lot of
students... And it's a true vertical needling.
Yeah.
So you don't get the drag, you don't get the damage.
Because there's very little pens that are properly... Like, people don't get this. It's... there's this pen, there's that pen, and you can see they vibrate. It's terrible what they can do to the skin, and people have no idea. And that's what I find people ask, and I only offer 2 solutions at the moment. But I'll say that as well because it's limited, very limited out there.
So yes, Rejuvapen is now safely in our hands, and we'll be doing a lot more marketing with it next year.
Yeah, that will be good.
So thank you for saying that. I wasn't expecting that.
And I swear I didn't even know. But yeah, that's it. More opportunities for a skin needling device, definitely without it.
Covered.
Are you going to do serums with it? What are you going?
This is a watch this space.
Yeah. Exosomes or not exosomes, polynucleotides, not polynucleotides, or just good
I'm in the
hyaluronic
midst
acid?
of really doing my due diligence and research, because I believe that because of my knowledge and experience of skincare and my understanding of peptides, amino acids, the building blocks of skin, I think that, and I'm doing my research at the moment, that there are amino acids in combination. There's the science there from a pharmaceutical perspective that's coming through into cosmetics that will be really interesting to watch in the months to come. I'm not saying years. So in terms of skin rejuvenation in combination with needling or as injectables, there's a lot coming.
Really?
Some really exciting step forwards.
Already.
I mean, if you look, I don't know whether you know the Rare Monitor, but the Rare Monitor report is the data in the market, and the latest report that's just been published. And the shift from the traditional injectables, and I find it funny to say traditional injectables because it makes me sound very old because I was there when they were launched. But anyway, to regenerative, so the polynucleotides, exosomes, and other treatment modalities that are coming. That shift is fundamental and huge in the last couple of years, and is changing the way clinics are working.
Yeah.
And so because I've always wanted to be at the forefront, I want to be there.
So there's another ingredient that actually, to my shame, and this is, I'll make the excuse of I've been too busy and not reading enough, but a friend of mine pointed out a couple of days ago, Amaronius alias aromathus, it's basically a lipofilling ingredient, and that is apparently, now I don't know how it but regenerates and differentiates the adipocytes to thicken out the skin through fat stimulation.
Very, very interesting.
Exactly.
There's some research to do there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's this root. I started looking into it then, and it has shown really good results. And I'm like, because always it's been, you have a certain amount of adipocytes, you can't regenerate. You know, it's not going to be, it's more about filling them out.
Yes.
So, but it's a really interesting thing. Yeah.
I didn't think that's where you were going. I thought you were going to go towards NAD+, because there's so much conversation about that at the moment. I mean, Nicola Conlon, I could listen to her all day long. She's amazing.
Heard that. No.
Or go and find Dr. Nicola Conlon. She's incredible.
See, to me, NAD, I'm like, okay, yeah. But, so I've started taking Nushido, which is
Nicola. That's Nicola Conlon.
She's the one.
Yeah.
So basically, she is a client at a clinic that is friends with me, and she was basically saying about Nushido. She might have said her name. It probably went straight over my head.
Okay.
But she was saying about the benefits of supplementation over the injection versus drip.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There are certain pathways the bodies can deal with and certain pathways they can't.
Yeah.
So without going into the heavy chemistry of that, yes, it's a very interesting, Nushido is very interesting.
Yeah. NAD is like, that's huge,
Next
but
generation,
that's so huge. It's very hard to break it down for the regular person.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
how much it is.
Yes.
But but this was the new ingredient that I thought should.
Okay, I'm going to write that down and go off and do some more research.
I know.
So thank you for that.
It's great learning new things. This is what's so great about the industry.
Oh, absolutely. There's always something new to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
And always new people to meet and learn from as well.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, it was great having you in. Thank you so much, Lorna, for coming in, and all your wealth of knowledge is unbelievable. It's great to listen to you.
Well, thank you for having me, and I'm happy to come and geek about skincare whenever you want.
Amazing.
Love it.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.